Hey, good people. I just had a thought. A lot of guitar collectors and fetishists and people like us that swarm around these channels, we have this sort of ruling principle about our guitar collections. Look at the amassed guitars behind me. Those are my personal guitars, by the way. And to the left, to your right, is my electric guitars running under the table, which I sit in front of. Over to my right are my sale guitars that are to go. But if you look at the guitars behind me, I have this sort of thing where I keep one of everything. If I get two or three of something, I have to choose between them and get rid of 2 out of 3 of them. Case in point, I currently have 2 Les Paul style guitars. I have this one, which is the Alan Eden, which you've seen on a recent video, and I have one of these IYV green jobs here. And in my mind, automatically, I can't keep both. I have to decide on one or the other and get rid of one, just keep the other one. And I don't know where this comes from. It's sort of automatic in my thinking. But if you look behind me, I've got one regular classical, one regular flamenco. I have one electric classical. I have, one vintage classical as well, which is a Martin 66 guitar that I've shown on one of these videos. Then moving along, I have one 12 fret smaller body guitar. I have a Nepala. I have a Russian 7-string. I have a 12-string guitar. I have a baritone acoustic. I have a regular dreadnought acoustic, and then I have an electric acoustic dreadnought. And then same thing goes with the electrics over here. I have one Tele style, one Les Paul style, a PRS, a Godin guitar, a couple of cheaper knockoffs that are different, that are not the same as the others, a neck through guitar, a baritone electric, and so on. So I have a lot of guitars. I counted that I have about 35 guitars that I consider mine. That might waver in the next couple of months. But they're all sort of one of each kind of thing. I've got a lute guitar on the wall. I've got a regular 4-string bass, and I've got a 5-string fretless bass. I don't have like many of one kind of thing. I don't have a bunch of Les Paul style guitars. I'll probably end up with just one. And I'm wondering if you're like that and where that comes from. So you feel a need to sort of limit yourself in terms of the number of guitars that you have, or number of instruments you have in your house, unless your spouse helps you do it. In some cases, as many as you comment in the comments. However, you find ways to qualify the ones that you have. So for instance, I can't get rid of that. It's my only 12-string. I can't get rid of that one. It's my baritone. And this one here is a 12-fret parlor. It's different from my dreadnought guitar, so I got to keep both of them. And I have these classicals, but one's a flamenco, and one's a cedar top, and one's spruce top, and so on. You find ways to justify keeping what you have, but something in your brain tells you there is a point of excess. There is a point where you have to make tough decisions and get rid of things. And it's interesting that so many people seem to have this mechanism that operates in their psyche. And for some people, it's colors. I had one guy the other day, I was talking to him, saying, I don't have one of those in purple. I have one in green, I have one in yellow, I have one in red, and I have a black one. I think he was talking about Tele-style guitars. So for him, the way he justifies having 6 or 7 Tele-style guitars is they're all different colors. He doesn't have 2 black ones. He has 1 black one. He has a green one, has a red one. But he needs a blue one. That type of thing. So in his mind, he's being disciplined by only having one of each kind. But it's the way that he's orchestrated the logic is to allow him to have 6 or 7 Tele style guitars. I'm wondering if that's how common that is, and I'm wondering where you what the organizing principle is in your collection. Do you have one of each thing? Do you have one of each color? Do you have one of each type? Do you have, let's say, a guitar with P90s, a guitar with double humbuckers, and a guitar with the Strat or Tele setup, and so on? You have a bunch of guitars, and that's how they all differentiate, is the pickup setup. And there's by doing that, and I'm guilty of doing it, you can get away with a 35 guitar collection because you can find ways to delineate 35 styles or types of guitar that are all different from each other, that there are different tools that are going to give you different voices. Now this is the exact opposite of what 5 Watt World proposes, that you only need one guitar, and that if you have one guitar you're likely to be a better player. And we've talked about this in a video before, and I don't want to particularly take it there, but I'm just saying there is an antithesis to this thinking. Those of us who make excuses to own 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 guitars, more even, all the excuses are all the organizing principles, all the justifications of logic that we come up with, in terms of these purists, is not going to wash, because you're just setting up a constructed template to allow you to have all those possessions and to be materialistic, when you really only, as a guitar player, need one. Even in the professional world you'll find this quite an argument. I do love the videos of 5 Watt World. Is it 5 Watt World? Keith Williams. And I was watching one last night on the guitars of Jerry Garcia. I think it's the new video he just put out. And he did one a couple of weeks ago with the guitars of Lennon and McCartney. I think he's done one. The guitars of Clapton, I think maybe he's done that one as well. And it's interesting that even these really high-level professional musicians find ways to justify having so many guitars. And I guess if you're a working musician, you have more of a justification for having them than if you're not. But it seems to operate throughout all demographics. And also it's got to operate within a given budgeting allowance. Some people can't have 30 guitars. The only reason I have this many guitars is I work on them. I didn't pay full price for any of these guitars. None of them. I never pay full price. However, if I don't have the access that I have, I'm not going to be able to acquire these for what I paid for them. It just wouldn't happen. I was an industry insider. I have connections. I know where to get certain things. I know how to fix certain things, which gives me more scope for buying and spending less. So I realized that a lot of this is to do with your particular situation in life. But even a regular Joe guitar player can, a lot of them find ways to have 5, 10 guitars in their bedroom, even as a non-gigging musician. And they all have this justification principle that goes on in their head. Like, I don't have one of those, so I need one of those. I need one of those. I got 2 of those, so I'll get rid of one of those to fund one of these. And it's interesting how that works from person to person. I see it a lot in the comments and on other people's videos. So I thought to create a video about it and invite you to comment on how it works for you. How do you justify the number of guitars or other instruments that you have? Those of you who are collectors, what is the paradigm behind your collection? I mean, we're all working within a budget. You can't just buy everything. So how, what sort of informs your choices in terms of what you purchase? And those of you who are actually working musicians and gigging or recording musicians like myself, what in that world justifies the number of instruments that you keep in your arsenal? We refer to it, military terms. Everybody talks about their arsenal when they talk about guitars, and we talk about these as axes. There's something about these things that we see not just as tools but as weapons, as part of our defense mechanism, so to speak. And psychologically they are. I mean, this is my castle in here. This is my keep. This is where I come, for fortification. I'm surrounded by these things. So in a way, they are like defensive weapons in a way, and they can be offensive as well. But anyway, I'm getting off point here. What I wanted to ask you is, what method of psychological gymnastics do you operate on yourself to allow yourself to have a collection of guitars? How many? How's that organized? How do you justify it to yourself? Can you, for instance, buy more guitars than fit in the room that you're allowed to have in your house for your music gear? For me, I can't go out of this room. If this room overflows, I have to get rid of stuff. I don't keep them around the house. It's just in this room. So there's a space issue for a lot of us. There's a money issue for a lot of us. But there are other interesting paradigms. So tell me all about them in the comments, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video with some of your stories. All right, folks. See you next time. I would have done a review today. I was supposed to get an Admira Virtuoso guitar, which is like a $700 guitar, but it arrived damaged and I had to send it back. So I'm talking about this instead. But hopefully I'll have a couple of new guitars for the next video or two. All right, folks. See you then.